Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com's review of Yamato's 160 scale VF-17 toy. This is the toy seen in Macross 7. It was originally released in December 2011. Retail was 24,800 yen. Toy comes packaged with a gun with some neat bells and whistles that I will show you in Gearwalk mode. Also comes with two fist covers for the back of fighter mode. They just pop right off. You can see the hand within. Obviously these are optional if you are a big stickler for perfect transformation. You don't like the idea of messing with those things. You don't really need to. Toy also has a pilot figure which fits in the opening cockpit. To open the cockpit you need to lift it up and then it has room to come back. Obviously it doesn't otherwise. Let's put the pilot back in there. Pilot's kind of a loose-fitting pilot, which if you're going to have the canopy open, it's something to remember. There's a couple of things that annoy me in fighter mode right off the bat. One, it'd be nice if the legs pegged in a little bit better to the back of the vehicle, although generally you're going to pick it up from below as well anyway, so it won't really matter to you. Also, the nose comes down at an angle, and it's not really supposed to. It's supposed to come straight out, so an odd sculpt choice there. Otherwise, this toy is absolutely beautiful. You can pull these guns forward if you want to. They're extended in Gearwalk mode, so it's kind of a transformation mechanism. It does have integrated landing gears that look very nice. The front landing gear, the wheel coming off there, has a bit of a trick to it in that there's a adjusted tiller, but that you have to pull this straight upward, this front door, before you can bring it forward. So to close this up, I simply close it and push down. Everything conceals very nicely when you've got these doors closed. Now you can't see it right now, but the gun is actually being stowed in fighter mode, which is a neat gimmick, if imperfectly executed. There are no adjustable or no removable intake covers, so you can't see any little turbines within, but I don't believe you ever did in the show anyways. So that's it for fighter mode. Let's move on to the VF-17's fairly unique Gearwalk mode. So here we have the VF-17's unique Gearwalk mode. Let's touch on a couple things I didn't really touch on in fighter mode. There's not a lot of detail painted on this toy. Yamato said it's because they wanted to give the owners the flexibility to put their own markings on. They thought some of the markings didn't really go well with the stealth nature of this toy. I think that's just silly. You spend this much money on a toy, you expect it to have all the markings tampo printed on, but they didn't do that. So anyways, let's look at the gun stowage. So Yamato couldn't really figure out a way to make it so the leg had a panel that popped open and this giant gun would pop out. You can't really blame them because there's a ton of anime magic in that. So what they did instead was created two trapdoors in the back of the calves that stow half of the gun that you then pull out and assemble. And the gun then has some nice little features to it, but we can get in that later. There are these trapdoors that cover these stowage areas. So I wouldn't really bother stowing the gun if you didn't absolutely need to in fighter mode. Kind of a silly gimmick the way it's implemented, and it doesn't, I don't know, it felt like it fought me a little bit more when I was trying to transform the toy back into fighter mode. So not a huge fan of that gimmick. I think Yamato would have been better served just to make two guns that come with this toy, one that's small and collapsed in some way and fit in one of the legs. Or better yet, give us an optional calf that has no landing gear. I don't know. Anyways, so here is the Gearwalk mode. The guns have slid out. Kind of funky. To get to a more traditional Gearwalk mode, you pretty much just bring the arms down. The toy does come with a warning of a number of sharp points that you both don't want to stab yourself with, and don't want to damage, because it will be obvious on the toy if you do. As you might expect, you can then slide the arms out. The hands look like they're from the VF-22 toys. That's pretty decent. There you go. So now you could have a more traditional gear walk mode. Why this toy has the two different ones, I'm not really sure. I'm sure in somewhere in Macross 7 it was explained. So anyways, let's continue on to Batroid mode. Here is Batroid mode. This toy's strong suit in my opinion. But let's first talk about the gun. The gun has a flip out handle, extended stock, flip out grip, and as an extra bonus, you can pop off the top and get a little detail. So that's nice. Fits nicely in the toy's hand. You can do some awesome poses with it. So let's talk articulation. Head, back and forth. Also spins around in some odd ways. It's not a ball joint though. The gun's out and in. The shoulders can spin around. You can also get some interior articulation there. Again, these are mostly transformation mechanisms, but they do help. There's a swivel right below the shoulder. Double jointed elbow that lets you get pretty high with it. Again, you would have to have that for transformation. Even the old Bandai 165 toys had it. Wrist spins around, pivots, and has articulated hand or fingers. So all good stuff there. Good A stance at the waist. Now there is no waist. I should say good A stance at the hips. Knee, back, and forward if you go with the extension. And then obviously the gear walk joint up above it. Nice good clickiness. Ankles can do whatever you want. They're wonderful. You can definitely pose this toy running on one foot, no problem. So, articulation wise, this toy is a ton of fun actually. Hips are stiff, although you do get a little wobble at a certain point to them. You can kind of see that. So that's not particularly cool. Usually you can pinch them in a little tighter to help stiffen that up. A couple things I don't really like. I don't like that the chest it doesn't really find a spot that it should lock at, you know? So I'm never sure if I've got it at just the right angle. I would think that that would be the right angle, but that looks a little too downward pointed. So that is definitely one thing I'm not too thrilled about. As far as articulation goes, again, another transformation mechanism, but you can actually pivot these in and out, these shoulders. I also don't like the side view of Batroid mode, where there's this big gap right there. So, from the front, looks great. Articulation is great. I will show some good poses up on anymoon.com. I also have a transformation video that has a lot of the transformation gimmicks on there, and this toy has a lot of them, which are really impressive. But overall, when in comparison to the VF-19 toy, the VF-19 Kai and VF-19S that have recently been released, I'd say this toy is a step down from those. I wish there had been a version 1 VF-17 toy that Yamato could have learned from a little bit before making this should-be masterpiece, because it just doesn't quite feel like a masterpiece. It feels like there's a couple things that could have been done better.